I wasn't sure where I'm coming to. I didn't know.
I know. Well,
I was like, maybe it's maybe she has it in her office.
well, can you imagine people like I had last week, a member of Knesset come, they come to my house and they're like, oh my, what's happening?
Hi, and welcome to the Dayna Show, where we discuss in English day-to-day life of Israeli citizens, our concerns and aspirations for the country, and everything in between. I'm your host, Dayna Kaplan, and we're so glad that you could join us.
When I first start the podcast, I mention the hostages.
Yeah.
And that's what I do every time. And we still have 59 hostages stuck in Gaza. And I don't know about you, but I think about it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, do you think about the hostages all the time?
It comes and goes because like in the beginning of the war, I felt so bad because I didn't do the army. And I felt so bad that I can't contribute. So I tried staying up to date with everything, and I would feel like I'm doing something. It did a lot of damage to me, like see certain things that I shouldn't have seen. And also I was wasting my time. So I chose to like start.
What do you mean by it was doing things to you? Like just being.
Like seeing certain videos, like you remember the videos that came out in the beginning?
Yeah.
They were intense. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know if we should be looking at those. For me, I'm a sensitive person. I don't know if I should be, like in the moment, I'm so angry and so whatever. So I feel very tough and I'm like, I'm going to look at anything. Then weeks later, I'm like feeling very overwhelmed. And I started to post my own content about it, which I think it went really well. Like the content was getting views. And after a while, I realized I think I'm kind of trying to use that opportunity to get popular here. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to fill up my feed with non-hostage related things, but occasionally, of course, I think about them. I'd much rather try to help than try to be updated on what's going on. So I tried to do my part. I think I did a little bit, and that's it. And life goes on. I have responsibilities, you know?
Yeah, we can't be stuck in it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's hard to find a balance sometimes because it is super intense and it is super personal.
For sure.
And it's like we all know somebody who's been affected one way or another.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like we were saying before about like manifesting things, like what you put yourself in has a big effect on your mood and how you litafked. And my English is
Function.
really bad today. I don't know why. I have no idea why.
It's the Houthis' fault. We blame the Houthis for everything.
Yeah. So I also like have to find the balance with that. But this is the reality. Listen, we have these reminders every few days or whatever. Today on the way here, you were stuck in a siren, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
You can't forget. They won't let you forget.
No.
Dude, they really hate us, eh?
They want to kill us. Like they want us dead. It's like a reality that we've gotten so used to it that it's like not a big deal for us. Like people in America, the Jewish people in America who have kind of woken up to their Judaism since October 7th, they're handling it a lot harder. They handle every siren harder than we do, I think.
Really?
I believe so.
Why do you say that?
Because they think we're suffering and they can't deal with us suffering. And they don't realize that half the time we forget that there's a siren and we don't even hear it. We're just used to it.
You know, I forgot to tell you about another time that there was a siren. It was all in the middle of the night and I was home with my two kids. And my son, he's a really heavy sleeper. We woke him up and he managed to come in here, okay? The next morning, he didn't even remember.
Really?
Okay? He didn't even remember that he came in the room. He was like, there was a siren? I said, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, don't you remember? He's like, he didn't even know.
That's how it is. My son's 7. It's his birthday today or yesterday.
Mazel tov.
Yeah, we're going to go celebrate later.
He's adorable, by the way.
He's so cute.
Looks exactly like you.
Yeah, he's so much cuter in person, by the way. Oh my God. We'll just sit in the car together and he'll be like, Daddy, I love you.
Oh my God.
And I'm just like, and I'll turn around and be like, say it again. Like I don't get tired of hearing it.
Dude, you got to appreciate it now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Shmuli Weissler, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I have, most of my guests obviously speak English, but a lot of them have made Aliyah. And they make Aliyah for different reasons, you know? And it's interesting to hear everybody's story. You have a very interesting story, and one of the reasons that I really connected with you is because you've been through a hard time, and we'll go through all of the things that you've been through, but you've really like come out with a shining light, and you're helping other people, and that impresses me so much. I love that so much. So I really am grateful that you came.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So the first question I ask people, and your story might be a little bit different, is what was the impetus for you to make Aliyah?
Okay, so just to clarify the question, because I came to Israel 15 years ago, but I made Aliyah about 6 months ago.
Oh, wow.
So which one are you talking about? Which one are we talking about?
The first time you came to Israel, why did you come to Israel? Not make Aliyah, let's say you came to Israel.
Okay, so again, to clarify, like my mother's from here, so we visited it once a year, approximately. But when I was 17, I came here and have been here since then. The reason,
How old are you now?
I'm 32.
Okay.
So I was 17 at the time. That's about 15 years ago, this Pesach. So I came here because I wanted to get away from home. I was really struggling in high school. I had struggled in elementary school. I came from a very, very ultra-Orthodox background, very Haredi background.
Where?
In Muncie. But my mother grew up in Romema, in Jerusalem. And my father grew up in Manchester.
Ah.
And I was born in Manchester. So
you're a little British.
I'm a little British, a little Russian, Ukrainian, and a little American. And now pretty Israeli at this point. But I still prefer the Americans. You know, I'm Israeli enough to like get into an argument on the road when necessary, but like I still prefer the Americans.
You can hold your own, okay.
Yeah. Okay. But so I came here to get away from home because I kept on getting into disagreements. It was an unhealthy family situation. My parents, they couldn't understand that I was dealing with emotional and mental health issues. And they just kept bringing it back to religious issues. And they were very restrictive. So I was suffering a lot at home. I was suffering in school, in high school, in yeshiva high school, because I couldn't keep up with everyone. I had Lyme disease for the first year and a half of high school, which shuts your brain down. So by the time that happened, by the time I was halfway through 10th grade and got rid of it, I was behind a year and a half, basically. And I was in one of the top yeshiva high schools, so I couldn't really catch up. And, you know, they kept telling me to leave and go somewhere that could help me with my needs. And I was okay with that. And my father wanted me to stay. And he wanted me to stay, so he would somehow, probably, I could only assume which way, he would convince them to keep me. At the end of 11th grade, they told me, this time you really have to go. I said, agreed. At that point,
why did they need you to go? Like, what exactly was happening?
So, I was very unhealthy. Like, I was 16 years old. I weighed 260 pounds.
Really?
Yeah, I was huge. And I had no, like, issue with it. I was fine. I was depressed. I was fine. I was becoming a troublemaker at that point because I was so bored. So I was doing little shenanigans, you know, like we got together one night and took my friend's dad's car and went to buy beer, like, you know, classic stuff. And we all got in trouble. But I wasn't doing anything. Like I would get a test in class. I would write my name on the top and give it back. Like I knew I wasn't going to pass anyway. So I wasn't even trying. Every class I wasn't listening, I would take my chair, put it in the back of the class and doodle. So they for my own benefit, they wanted me to go. And I wanted to go. My father wanted me to stay. So after 3 years, finally, I decided I was going to leave. And I was looking for like a remedial school, something that could give me more attention and all that. We found some place. It ended up being, it was a shit show. Like it was a very small amount of guys there.
Also in Muncie?
No, that was in Lakewood. So it was meant to be in Philadelphia.
Lakewood.
Yeah.
Wow.
I went for my interview in Philadelphia. I showed up, there was 8 guys there, and they would get 2 people from the neighborhood to make a minion every day, like a small place. Went there for the interview. At the end of the year, they said, like 2 days before the school year, we lost our building. We're going to be joining up with a Hasidic high school in Lakewood, like for the rebels, the Hasidic rebels. So it was a party of a year, but we didn't get much done. And we just went to their building. And by the time Pesach rolled around, there was only 5 guys left, and he told me I have to leave. So that made it 4, which shut the place down. The place closed after I left. After I left, I wanted to go somewhere. I had an idea in mind of a place that could give me a lot more attention and really help me with my studying, with Gemara and all that. And my father just wasn't having it. He's like, I don't know. I'm worried about what the neighbors are going to say. And, you know, he didn't say neighbors, but I'm worried, you know, it's not like you're better than that and this and that. And I just said, whatever. I cursed him out and said, I'm not going anywhere. And I convinced him to send me to Israel for a month. I went to Kiryat Sefer over here, stayed at my aunt's house. Her uncle had a kollel, so I went with him every day to go learn. She let me stay there for 8 months, and I was in a horrible place. So kudos to her. And every month, like I started to learn a little bit better, and I enjoyed it. I told my father I want to stay another month. And then suddenly it's a half a year later. My parents came to visit, and I had freedom for about 6 months. So I was starting to feel very good. I was still in a very unhealthy place. I wasn't getting carded for alcohol at that point. I was 17, so I was drinking a lot. I was buying cigarettes, and it used to be really cheap.
Yeah.
It used to be like 40 shekel for a bottle of whiskey and, 14 shekel for a pack of cigarettes. Anyway, so I was enjoying myself and I was learning well. I was really having a good time. My parents came for Sukkot and I realized like nothing changed. Like they're still very much on top of me and all that. And I got extremely depressed. And I just kind of started cutting myself off from everything. And the religion was in question at that point. I had gotten very close with a family member and the family decided I was too close to her. And so at that point, she was my only friend. And like I kind of lost that. And I was just shattered at that point. So, I went and bought my first pair of jeans. And they didn't look very good. I didn't know what I was doing. And I spent my 18th birthday drinking a bottle of whiskey alone in a room. Like, that's what I did. I then went to, like, now's where the story gets, just repetitive. So I went to another program. I told the rabbi there, I said I'm going through this weird journey. I don't think I'm going to be religious anymore, but I kind of want guidance on my way. He's like, I'll take you on. And then after about 8 months, like I turned out to be too much trouble for him. I started using drugs and it became a real issue because I would drink like 1 to 2 liters of vodka every night. And
God.
And then I found the drugs. Yeah. So like that was.
What kind of drugs did you start taking?
I just started smoking weed. And within about 3-4 months, it had spiraled into psychedelics and pills and all that. So he let me go.
Did it give you any relief?
So much. Like, let me tell you this, okay? When I was in elementary school, it's funny, actually. My principal, I just found out 5 minutes before I left to get here, he just passed away.
Nice.
And we had a rocky relationship, him and I. He had a bit of a temper, and I was very misunderstood as a child. So like most of the shenanigans that I pulled were actually accidents. And we didn't get along. So there was a time where he got very angry at me and I was very angry at him. And he pulled me physically by my hair down the hallway. And he panicked along the way, realizing what he's doing. And for years, he's been apologizing to me. Like I bumped into him 5 years ago at my friend's engagement party. And he was like, remember that thing I did? I was like, you got to stop. You got to let it go. I was like, it's okay. Like you've apologized to me 100 times. Like you have to let it go.
Did you forgive him?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like not because I think it's okay to do that. I can understand the situation he was in. I can also understand that it was acceptable in that culture at that time. I can understand. And the fact that he realized what he did wrong and apologized to me profusely, and I see how much he was suffering because of it, I'm not willing to not forgive when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And so I lost my train of thought.
You were saying about that I asked you if the drugs gave you relief.
Oh, so
and you said a lot.
Yeah, so he once spoke. I remember this. We had an assembly, and I must have been in 5th grade. I didn't know what drugs were. I didn't really know it was a thing. Drinking, sure. I was, there was an announcement when I was in 6th grade that I got drunk the night before. Everyone thought it was very cute. Drugs, I had no idea. And he was talking about how there's non-Jews out there that need this green stuff to get happy, and we get happy off the Torah. And all I could think about when he said that was like, I want the green stuff. I want it. That's all I thought about.
You're like, when am I going to get the green stuff?
I was like, I have no idea what this green stuff is, and I don't know what it looks like or what it smells like. I don't know what you do with it. I've never heard of it before.
What did you do when you first found the green stuff?
It took me a while. I had a lot of fear. Like I had social anxiety, and I was very afraid. I know it's an illegal substance. I can't just walk into a store and ask for it. And the people that were close to me when I was 18, they cared about me a lot, and they were not willing to get me my first drugs. And the first guy that gave me was a mistake. Like he told me explicitly, don't take any, and I took. That was my opening. And to be fair, till today, he doesn't believe me that it was a mistake on my part. I misunderstood him completely. And I really did. But so I smoked the weed. And all I remember thinking about was like, I was drinking from a young age to escape the way I feel about myself, but it wasn't helping. Because drinking doesn't cut off your emotions. I needed something to cut off my emotions, and weed didn't really do that either. And I kept chasing something that's going to just cut off my emotions.
And you never thought that maybe you should get help, or your parents never thought you should get help?
I did think I needed help. My parents didn't believe me. Let me give you another picture. Okay, when I was 6 years old, we lived in Gateshead at the time, in next to Newcastle, and it was Rosh Hashanah, and I was at the meal, and I was heading to the bathroom, and I noticed that the stove was on. My mother had left it on to keep things warm over Chag, and it was an electric stove, so I couldn't see which one was on. So how does anyone figure out which one is on? So I put my hand on one until I found the one that was hot. I burnt my hand. The guy from Hatzalah comes, bandages it up, and since then I felt a pain right here in my stomach, and I never knew what it was. All I knew was that nobody else has this pain. I have this pain. And when I was 11 years old, and we were at the Purim Suda with my family, and my father was drinking. Nobody really noticed what I was doing, and I took a cup about this big, poured 96% alcohol in there, covered it with a little bit of wine to cover up the look, and I drank the whole thing. And that pain went away for the first time. And I said to myself, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. I feel happy for the first time. And, I was nauseous, but I didn't care about anything. And from then on, it became an option. Because all I needed to do was escape who I am. I could not deal with who I am. And later on in life, the alcohol wasn't doing that anymore. So I needed drugs. And that's why I ended up at opiates, because that was really cutting off my emotions. I had no pain when I did that, And the whole journey back from that to like integrating with a normal society and enjoying life without any substances, the whole journey is learning the first thing. It's almost cutting out the drugs and alcohol. Like they had nothing to do with my struggle. They were just kind of a solution for what I was dealing with. The whole thing was just that pain in my stomach, that I can't be myself. I can't be, And till today, even though I'm doing a lot better, and for the most part, I'm very happy in society, I'm still surprised when somebody likes the real me. There's still a surprise there. I'm like, I'll lose control for a second, and the real me will come out, and somebody likes it, and I'm like, that's odd. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
I'm sad that you had that experience, that your parents never gave you that confidence in who you were, because that stuff really comes from home, and like it's like listen, like you have a child now,
yeah,
right? And if God forbid anything, your child is going through something like that, or you saw signs that something was wrong with him, you would do whatever you could just to find out or help them or whatever. And it's like, I think our role as parents is to give our kids like the things that they need, but also to build their confidence and say that it's okay to be who you are and that you're special no matter what.
Yeah.
And even from a Jewish point of view is that Hashem loves you no matter who you are. And that, everything in this world is for you. And so it's like, it makes me sad that you never had that you had to start from the beginning and learn that on your own.
Yeah.
And you should know that it's true, is that no matter what shlev you're in, whatever stage you're in, is that, like I always say to myself, Hashem loves you the most. You're his favorite. And everyone is Hashem's favorite. Every single one of us. And you are too. Even now, and no matter what you do, no matter how you think, no matter what you feel, you can never do anything wrong against Hashem. You're his favorite.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a cool way to say it, and I've never heard it that way.
Yeah, well, that's the way that I feel. You know,
Wow.
I think everyone, I want to get back to, obviously to your journey, but every one of us has their struggles, you know,
Yeah.
and everyone, and especially with social media and all that bullshit, you could really feel bad about yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, you can convince yourself that there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And you got to be really, really strong in your amuna and yourself and your bitachon of yourself. And I for one, I think that you're great. So I don't know where, you know, I hope that you start to believe that.
I'm definitely getting there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work that I've been doing. I mean, it's 10 years of 10 years of not touching a substance. So there's been 10 years of journeying. I'd say the last 3 years have been the most work that I put in. Because I just dying not to think the way I think anymore.
Do you go to therapy now?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I just started going again, actually. I go to NLP.
Mm-hmm.
It's like unconventional, has so far given me the best results out of any other
Yofi,
therapy.
good,
you know?
good.
But I'll tell you, like my parents, it's like I asked them for help many times and they were like, don't be silly. I told my mother, I said, I want to die.
Why was that their approach?
So
Because of the environment that they were in, or
I only have theories. I don't have
Okay.
facts. Like we're still
what's your relationship with them now?
about once a year we talk on the phone or something.
Oh, really?
Like that. Yeah.
You have distance between you?
Yeah, because I don't. Yeah, I mean we can get more into it. More
Okay,
than happy, but
okay.
it's not a 3-second response.
Okay, fine. Okay.
But so like I think, you know, I was the oldest child, and for 3.5 years I was the only child, and I think that for those 3.5 years I was my parents' entire world. They idolized me the same way I idolize my son. Like he's my entire world. I was their entire world. And then I think that I'm still their entire world. I just don't think they're capable of showing me that. And I don't think they're healthy people. So I don't think that they're able to show me love without hurting me. I don't think they know how. The conversations with my father were like, because he would do these things that would hurt me. And I would be like, why are you doing that? He's like, I'm protecting you.
Like what, for example?
Like he didn't want me to have a certain job because he believed that my potential was greater. So he called up the owner and got me fired.
Jeez.
That was like just for an example. Or he gave me a fake social security number to use because he knew I was going to do stupid shit on my taxes because I'm a crazy kid. And he figured I'll be better off if he gives me a fake number. So I'm like, what the fuck? What are you doing? And he goes, I'm protecting you. I said to him, wouldn't you agree that if your job is to protect someone and that person keeps getting hurt, you're not doing your job? He's like, I was like, it's control, not protection. And he doesn't see it that way because he's not a healthy person. My mother is not a healthy person. She lives with him. She's fully submissive to him. And, you know, she's just not healthy. So it just is what it is.
How many other siblings do you have?
I have 2 sisters.
Okay.
One's about 29, lives a few minutes away from me, but we don't speak. That's her choice. And the other one's 19, lives at home. Also, we don't speak, and that's my parents' choice. And it is what it is.
Oh, Shmuli.
Yeah.
Jeez, wow.
Let me tell
Do you want to be my kid?
Gladly. but
Be my kid. Oh my God.
That's an honor.
My heart is breaking. Okay.
But let me amend it for you.
Okay,
brother,
fine.
okay? Let me tell you how things play out.
I'm going to start crying in a second.
Let me restore your faith in God over here.
Okay.
So God puts me in this situation. Let me take you through something, through a thought process, okay? About 7 years ago, my ex-wife was pregnant with my child, and I was we weren't talking at that point. We were going through a very rough patch. I wanted to die, and I couldn't deal with anything. And my friend sat with me. He told me, you know, he said there's this book called Sefer Yetzirah, which they say was written by Avraham Avinu, where he talks about the creation and how things work, and he says, he explains how a Gilgul works. Now, before we get to that, I'm going to explain how I thought a Gilgul works. A Gilgul is somebody who, they fucked up in this world.
Gilgul is reincarnation for those people who don't know. Yeah.
So they really fucked up in this world, and they're supposed to go to hell, and God in his merciful ways sends them back to get another chance, hits them on the lips so they don't forget it, they don't remember anything, and we hope for the best. And here's another chance to do everything perfectly. Switching over to the actual way that it's brought down, that it works, is a Gilgul is a complete tzaddik, a complete righteous person who finishes their life on this world, comes up to the next world, gets offered paradise. And they say, they show up to their new mansion with their car, and they say, why is there a scratch on the back of the car? And the angel's like, could you just enjoy your gift? Like, you worked hard, enjoy it. There's a little scratch, it's okay. He goes, why is there a scratch? He goes, because, you were a little stingy. He goes, I want to go back and fix it. He says, come on, no. I want to go back and fix it. And he demands and he begs and he begs and he begs and he wants to go back and fix it. And they say to him, okay, you can go back and fix it. He says, wait, before you send me, make sure I'm really poor so I don't have a test to be stingy. Make sure there's no chance that I'll be stingy. If you make me poor, I can't be stingy. They say, come on, we're offering you a good life down there. Make me poor, I'm begging you. He comes down here, gets flicked on the lip, and he's poor. And he lives his life like that. And it changed my perspective so much because I thought I was in this world to be perfect. And that if I'm not perfect, I'm going to keep coming back and suffering again and again and again. And something I mentioned in one of my videos is the difference between pain and suffering.
Right.
Like, you want to squeeze my hand really hard, you want to cut me, that'll give me pain. Suffering is the repetition of hopelessness. And that was the feeling of hopelessness I had, where I just wanted to die. I wanted to kill myself. I couldn't live. And it changed my perspective so much, to the point where I was like, for example, I was by a funeral this past Thursday of a friend my age who overdosed, right? And I was at a funeral the week before of my friend's dad. Very different funerals. One's children burying their parent, one is parents burying their children. And when the rabbi got up, I already knew what he was going to say, because I know what everyone says during these things. His soul was too big and too holy for this world, and he's too sensitive to all the bullshit that you hear in this world. And I had that thought during that conversation 7 years ago, where my friend sat across from me and said, if you die, then at your funeral, they're only going to say good things about you. They're going to talk about the hard life you had, how you tried your hardest to overcome things, how your neshama was too big for this world. But is that what you want from life? And I said no, and I chose life. And that's where I am today. And I started then to build myself the life that I want, with God next to me, with God holding me the entire time. So my family's like this, right? I told you I'm going to restore your faith in God, because I'm surrounded by a support system. I'm surrounded by friends who love me dearly. My son loves me. My girlfriend loves me. I'm surrounded by people who will do anything for me. And I reconnected with my extended family, and I'm surrounded by them. And we're very different. I have 65 first cousins. I'm just on one side. I'm the oldest of them, and they're all Haredi. I'm the only one who's not. So we don't hang out all the time, but they love me. Any one of them will do anything for me. They protect me. And I'm very lucky. I have friends, people in my life that are very jealous, and it makes me very uncomfortable. Because they tell me that I have good friendships and all that, and it makes me very uncomfortable. And I don't respond this to them because I don't think it's relevant, but they have family, I have friends, and that's what everyone has, what they have. So thank God I have a big group of people looking out for me, and it's really beautiful. So things do work out. Something my girlfriend mentioned, that one of the reasons that she loves me is because everyone goes through hard things, and some people choose to use that to become mean, and some people choose that as a way to become nice. And I'm trying my best to be nice no matter what, and that's where I'm going with this. I have a life to live, and I'm going to be living it that way no matter what.
Well, besides the book, Sefer Yetzirah that you read, what was the straw that broke the camel's back that made you get into recovery?
So it's an interesting question. I kind of got into recovery before I was so conscious. So the awareness that I had was a lot earlier. Like this conversation.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Right. I'm sorry I interrupted, but I'm so curious.
Yeah.
What was your rock bottom?
Okay.
Okay. And then how did you start recovery?
Okay. So when I was 18, I started using drugs, like I mentioned. And when I was 19, I had a seizure from my drug use.
Wow.
And just to give you a picture of my lifestyle at that point, I woke up on the floor and there were 3 men from Hatzalah standing over me.
Where was this?
It was in my yeshiva, in Telstone.
Okay.
And they were standing over me. And I said, what do you guys want from me? Because I didn't remember having a seizure, but I was very used to waking up on the floor.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So I said to them, what do you guys want? They're like, you had a seizure. I remember yelling at them, like, get the fuck out of here, I'm sleeping. And, and they're still standing there. I'm like, you heard me, get the fuck away from me. I'm sleeping. And I look at one of them, I'm like, wait, I know you. Because he was friends with my dad. I said, I know you. He goes, yeah, how's it going? I'm like, it's good. he's like, yeah, life is good. I'm like, yeah, I'm sleeping. He goes, you're not sleeping, you had a seizure. And I had no health insurance at the time. So I went into the hospital. I jumped the gate out eventually. And I went home and went to the local doctor, told him what happened. And he looks at me, he goes, if you drink another beer, you're going to die. Any alcohol in your system, you're going to die. And obviously drugs. And I was like, okay, that scared me straight. So I went 2 months without drinking or using. Everyone was telling me, go to this program, go to that program. I'm like, no, I'm going to do this on my own. And I watched Everybody Loves Raymond and Family Guy for 2 months in my bed. And
good choices.
Right?
Yeah.
I've watched them again since then. They're great.
Yeah, Everybody Loves Raymond was the best.
It's awesome.
Yeah. People don't appreciate that show enough.
I'll tell you, I appreciate it a lot more after I was married and divorced. Oh my God. Those in-laws. Wow. Like I was always on Deborah's side for everything. Anyway. So what was I saying? Oh, so 2 months later, a friend of mine comes to me with a little baggie. He goes, I got these pills from America.
Nice friend.
Yeah, actually. And it was opiates. I had never tried opiates before. So I said to myself, it's not a relapse if I've never done it before. It's a lapse. It's not a relapse. And I believed every word I said. So I spent 2 days locked in a room, vomiting out the window and not eating or doing anything else. And when that was over, I continued along the lines of, I'm sober, like I'm not using. And then about a week later, I was at a Shabbat meal. It was my birthday. And my friend, they're passing around the Kiddush wine a little bit. My friend goes to me, here's some for you. I said, but I'm sober. Yeah, but it's your birthday. Next thing you know, I finish a bottle of Arak and it's over. And that wasn't my rock bottom, okay? That was one of my experiences that when I wanted to decide whether I'm an alcoholic or drug addict or not, I had to use that experience to take the logic of the doctor said you're going to die. Now take the logic of it's your birthday, have some wine, match them together and see if it makes sense to change the first decision based on the second logic. And the answer is no, it doesn't. And if you ask me what happened in between, like if it doesn't make sense, then your mind didn't just go there smoothly. What happened? And I can't tell you what happened. I don't know what happened in between. And that's a drug addict. That's someone who cannot explain why they use. A lot of people use heavy. A lot of people used heavy with me. And then the right thing came along and they stopped. It was religion. It was a girl, whatever it was. It was a job. They stopped. Me, there was a blank spot of logic. My rock bottom was a number of attempts later, about a year and a half after that. I was 21. And I just, I kept getting kicked out of yeshiva. Every yeshiva I've gotten kicked out of was for drugs. I was in Lev Aryeh, they kicked me out for drugs. I was in Shalom Rav, they kicked me out for drugs. I was in Neve, they kicked me out 4 times for drugs. The last time they said, I don't want to see you for another year. Everything came down to that. And I was having like they seemed like mini overdoses. Like I was zoning out for days at a time. I was hallucinating. Like I was just doing really badly, and I was very, very skinny.
Why, Shmuli, you're lucky to be alive. You know that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just couldn't stop using. I was living with some guy at some point, and he was using as well, and he would take Xanax and forget
Where
what he
would you
does.
get the money for all this stuff?
So I would
Finagle?
recycle the drugs. I would create a revenue stream of drugs
What does that mean?
where I would supply some friends, and then with the change, I get what's left.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Anyway, so
You said you want to talk open, so
I said, yeah, it's okay. No, it's all good.
Okay.
My roommate at the time was using, and he would go in these blackouts from what he was using. And one day I get a call from his girlfriend. I'm at work, and she says, why are there 4 cops in your apartment? I was like, I don't know why there are 4 cops in my apartment, because he had gone out, stolen a bunch of phones in his blackout, and they came and searched it. They found it, and they arrested him. So I walk into this war zone. He's in jail. I walk into this war zone, and I'm like looking for drugs to throw out. I said, you know what? This scared me straight for like the 20th time. This scared me straight. I'm throwing the drugs out. I find all his drugs, and I took them. I ate them all. I snorted them all, and I almost OD'd that night. Like I took a crazy upper and downer mix, which was never ever do that. Don't do drugs, but never do that.
Okay.
And next day I'm at work, and I'm hallucinating like crazy. I see cats running around on the ceiling, and I'm just like, and I'm like, wait, I work in a wine store. I don't think there are cats in the
You
ceiling.
work in a wine store?
I worked in a wine store at the
Dude,
time.
that's retarded. What
It
the
was
hell?
crazy. Like, I could tell you story after story.
Oh my gosh.
There was the weekend where
Oh my
I wanted to buy wine for Shabbat. So Thursday I finished work. My boss gave me a discount on 6 bottles. I figured 6 is going to cover me. I didn't make it off the property. By the time the end of the night rolled around, I had finished all 6 bottles and a half a bottle of vodka and smoked something. I don't know what it was. And that's when I left. It was all gone. That's how I rolled. People today, because I'm so behaved and disciplined, they're like, a little bit's not gonna hurt. They're like, just have some Kiddush wine. Have some, it's your birthday. Drink a sip. Like, it's okay. I'm like, no. I'm like, if you see me do that, just walk out the door. Never talk to me again. It's gonna hurt. It's just how I am. How I was. There's a possibility I'm not like that anymore. I'm not willing to take the risk, right?
Facts don't care about your excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I don't know anything about being addicted to drugs, but I know about health and nutrition and losing weight and training and stuff like that. It's different, but it's the same. At the end of the day, this is your body,
Yeah.
and you can make every excuse you want, but whatever you put into it, you're going to have to pay this. You're going to pay the consequences,
Yeah.
no matter what. So you can make whatever excuse you want, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I have a friend who's currently using. If you hear this, forgive me. But
What's his name? Just kidding. Just kidding.
and like he keeps calling me and saying this is the last time. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And he keeps telling me his thoughts about how he came up with that. This is the second to last time. I said, how much you want to bet?
This is the second to last
Yeah.
time? Okay.
I said, how much you want to bet that no matter what thought process you have, it's always going to end up with you being able to use again? And he goes, touche. We lie to ourselves to be able to use. We say whatever we need to say. So back to my rock bottom story. My rock bottom was the most boring story that I could share. I was at my rabbi's house for a meal, and he had cups of grape juice, little ones that he gives to everyone after Kiddush. And he put in a little bit of wine, very, very easygoing 5% wine. And I told him I'm sober, and he said, it's a little bit, it's fine. And I had it, and the whole room started to shake. Now, I have a very high tolerance, so it wasn't from the alcohol. It was because I finally realized that the way I'm built, I'm unable to be drunk. I can either be trashed or sober. I'm very uncomfortable when I have a little bit of alcohol in me. And that's why I couldn't drink like everyone else. I'm built differently. And until I'm blackout drunk, I cannot deal with myself. And when I'm sober, I at least could deal with myself. sometimes it gets to situations where I'm really desperate to get out of myself. But really the situation that I want to escape the most is being a little bit drunk. That was my rock bottom. Since then, I haven't had a drop of alcohol.
Really?
Yeah. And that was about 10 and a half years ago.
Wow. How did your life change after that?
So, okay. So the first year, I still
Was
felt...
it hard?
No. I threw myself into socializing to like a weird, very weird level where like I would go out every night till 3 a.m, sober, and just try to get people's phone numbers. And it wasn't specifically women. It was just anyone that I could make a connection with. And I did that. I went clubbing for the first time when I was sober because I felt like I was able to control everyone in the room because they were all drunk. Like they thought I would lose myself in the music, and like, so no one thought it was odd. They just thought I was selling cocaine because I had no alcohol in my hands and I was acting crazy. And I would always have water with me.
You were clean from everything?
Yeah. Yeah. I started to go clubbing. I started to socialize. The next year, I got a job as a dorm counselor in the yeshiva that threw me out 4 times. So that was a nice little feeling of like I've closed that circle and I'm able to give back. I never really properly did the work that people are meant to do when they get sober, like the internal work. I kind of half-assed it a few times. After the year of being a dorm counselor, which wasn't an easy year, but it was doable, I never felt very grateful for being sober. I just knew I needed to be sober. After that year, I went and got an apartment with a couple of friends, and I ended up getting engaged a few months later. And there were problems immediately, like as soon as we got married.
How did you meet the girl? Was it a
Interesting
shut-up?
story. Yeah, but I wanted an electric bike. They were becoming like the thing then. And I made a deal with God that if he gets me one, I'll go to the Kotel for 40 days. So I got my electric bike and I went to the Kotel for 40 days. Little trick, by the way, if you go before sunset and you stay till an hour and a half later, that's 2 days in one.
For those of you who don't understand, why is it 2 days in one? Why is it 2 days in one?
So you have to do 40 days at the Kotel. So that's, you go to the Western Wall for 40 days. So if you go before sunset, that's counted as, let's say, Tuesday. And then you stay till after it gets dark, which is now counted as Wednesday, because in the Jewish law, the night is the beginning of the next day. So I would pretty much do that. So I would say out of the 40 days, I probably went about close to 30 days.
Okay.
Nice little loophole.
Okay.
Every day.
Good to know.
Every day on the way down, there was a woman, Shoshana, who would collect soda cans and bottles, and she would collect money. So I'd give her a few shekel. And on the 40th day, on my way up, she was sitting with this girl. And this girl was very friendly. She sat and talked to me for like 3 hours about my personal stuff. And I was just an open book. And she decided she's going to set me up with someone. She set me up with a girl. It didn't work out with that girl. That girl then set me up with my ex-wife. And that's a whole nother story. But that was quite a crazy story in itself. And when I got married, now I'm living with this woman, and now everything that I haven't dealt with came right up to the surface.
Right.
And she had her own shit that she was dealing with, which it's not fair.
Did she know about your whole past and everything?
She did, but I don't think she understood what it was. And she had her own issues, which I'm not going to get into. But within a few months, I was absolutely suicidal. Like I just couldn't deal with reality. So I bounced. And she was pregnant at that time. I bounced. I went to Jerusalem. I started living by a friend. Did
your relationship change with your parents at that time? Did they meet her?
They loved her. They loved her. They still love her.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that's like,
yeah. My mother told me, if you ever hurt her, I'm never talking to you again. I was like, well, okay. Well, that happened. Yeah, they lit up when I got engaged, and they shut down when I got divorced. My father said, if you get divorced, I'm cutting you out. I said, okay. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I finally became financially independent. And I don't know how to say this, but like I felt like I was microdosing on their love because they can't give me that much. And I wasn't able to face like learning to love myself because I was microdosing. Mm-hmm. So like that cutoff also like kind of gave me the space to learn how to love myself. Where was I? So
you were talking about you got divorced. I asked you if she knew about your past and everything.
Yeah, I've always been very open about it. Always been very open about it. Just in the beginning, because I thought it was cool. Eventually, because I thought maybe I could help somebody. And today I'm a little less open about it. More in like a public way than in a, like it doesn't really come up in conversation when I talk to people that I meet. Mm-hmm. I'll go to parties. I have no problem going to a party where there's a lot of alcohol, and I'm not going to talk about being sober there. People catch on because they keep offering me a shot every 3 seconds, but like I'm
what
not
do you
gonna
like
talk about,
what were you like when you were drunk?
Not,
were you drunk? Or you just felt normal?
Oh, I felt, yeah, that was where I wanted to be.
It wasn't like you were laughing and happy or whatever. You were just felt normal?
It didn't matter what I was doing. I had my happy drunks. I had my sad drunks. I had the drunks where I had to be schlepped home by 2 friends who were also drunk. I had the drunks where I was bawling my eyes out, crying about something that happened 6 years before. And, I had my drunks where I would call up a girl that I met once and tell her I'm in love with her. Like, I've had all those. It didn't matter as long as I was blackout drunk.
Now that you have a kid.
Yeah.
What are you going to do differently with him than what your parents did with you? Are you more aware of how you behave towards him, how you want him to grow up, and what the tools that he has,
yeah,
to be a successful adult?
Yeah. It's such a crazy question because we had a really hard year, me and him. He went through something this year that was absolutely brutal.
How old is he now?
He's going to be 7. He's 7 today. He went through something absolutely brutal, and he reached out to me for help. And he doesn't talk about his feelings. He's not the type of kid. And he reached out to me, like he told me a few times, and I said, I'm going to protect you, and I couldn't. And what was going on kept happening. And I had to go really far out of my comfort zone to a point where I could lose everything I have to protect my son. And it was very, very hard. And it's only kind of resolved itself in the last couple of weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Does he live with you?
No, he lives with his mother.
Okay.
And he comes to visit me and we hang out. So here's interesting. I think this is interesting. I think you'll like this, okay? But 6 months ago, I switched jobs and I made a big life change. And I felt that for the first time in my life, I had let go of the steering wheel and was letting God run the show, and that he was running it successfully. And I felt so good. Like life was just going so well. Like I was moving up. My career was doing better. My relationships were doing better. I had a girlfriend at the time that I really liked. And everything was going so well, and I didn't feel like I was pushing for anything to go well. And then, she ended the relationship, and that was a little tough. And I was like, okay, it's fine. Things are going well. And I was like, okay, winter's coming. I don't like winter. I get winter depression and whatever. I said, okay, this winter, I don't care how much I enjoy the winter. I care that I come out of this winter a different person. I was like, this is going to be boot camp winter. So whatever it comes out, like winter is the work, summer is the reward. That's how I looked at it. And I had no idea what I was talking about. Okay. 4 months ago, I find out what's going on with my son, and my whole world shatters. And along the way, I'm working hard. I have my business, I have my job, I have other things that I'm doing. So my days are just like, I wake up before 6 o'clock. I go to sleep at 1 a.m, the earliest. So I'm like just running on fumes. I turned 32. By my birthday, I was like, okay, I started to learn to work hard at age 25. I think I've done the work hard part. I think I need to learn to work smart now and pump the brakes kind of on how hard I'm working. And then suddenly my life took a different turn where I had more work to do. And I was really trying to have faith, and I didn't feel like God was with me. I felt like I was doing all of my like all of my efforts were going into keeping him with me, and I didn't feel him with me. And I was trying to let go of control, and I couldn't. And I was saying to God during the day, I'm letting go of control. I'm giving this over to you. And I knew I was still holding on. And I called my mentor at the time and I said, what do I do? And he said, I don't know, maybe just do some writing. He's like, honestly, sometimes you just have to kick it up a notch when you have these things. I don't know. You're going through a really hard time. And I went through and I met this girl along the way who's absolutely like this, like she's the one. And it's like, when you know. And I've never had that before with anyone. And I'm getting so much love.
How'd you meet her?
I met her at a party.
Okay.
Yeah. We didn't think anything of each other until a few nights later, and we clicked. And she's been so supportive and so loving, and it was messing with my head because my son is going through such a hard time, and I can't sleep at night thinking about how much he's suffering, and yet life is so good, and I'm just like, so what's going on here? And the whole time I'm trying to hold on to faith, and I don't even know why at this point. Like, I don't even know why. And then I realized, right, like once things got subdued and I realized like God's been holding me the whole time. He's been running the show the whole time. I can let go. I got my summer reward. I'm in a beautiful relationship. My son's doing better. I'm able to be more of a father for him now than I was before because he now needs more of me in his life. And financially, I'm doing better. And like, I just feel like I came out of a war zone, right? That's what I realized though. Like, you know how you have old friends that you catch up with and you're like, we've been through so much together? Imagine you went through those things without them and then you met them later on in life. You wouldn't feel that connection.
Right.
You know, and when we go through these things and we hold on to our faith, that's because at the end, we're going to have that connection with God. We're like, you know what we've been through together? Like we went through this together instead of like coming back to God after it gets easier and you say, God, you don't know what I've been through. And he's like, no, I know, we were there together. We were doing it together. And like, that was a choice to hold on to that. And
you should expand on that. You should like illuminate that concept. You should appreciate it and know that like, there's always going to be hard times, but there's always going to be good times too. There's going to be good times too. Not everything is dark. Not everything could be light all the time. You know?
Yeah.
But it's really important to celebrate the good moments also.
Yeah.
And like to remember that there are good moments. And I think, and I don't know, I think, I don't, when we're going through hard times, you look at it like Hashem's not with you in the hard times. I look at it like that he's always there. Like if you change this is the way I look at it. I can't impress upon you to feel the same way I do, but I look at it as we can look at things as being a hard time, but they're usually a lesson. It's usually something that we really have to go to become who we are, you know? And I look at, I've also been through through hell. I had a really bad divorce. I raised my kids on my own. I've been through a really, really hard time. And I've also had really moments where I was like, I wanted to end it. Thank God I've never got addicted to drugs or alcohol, but still, if I look back now, I wouldn't be the person I am now if I didn't go through those times.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like it was necessary at the end of the day.
It made you, look at the light you're bringing to the world right now, thanks to everything you've been through.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
You know, I think I try to attach myself to good.
Yeah.
You know, and hopefully it'll carry me through and make an impression on other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry I interrupted you, but
I
I think that it's important to recognize that the hard times are lessons.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way?
So that's the thing, like what I meant, like what I was trying to say before is that I know he's there with me. I don't feel it. And I was like, why am I not feeling this? And because I'm not feeling it, I'm not able to actually let go of control. Like I keep saying, I need to let go. What are you going to tell me? Just let go. I'm like, but I'm trying to. I can't let go. I can't do it. I can't do it. And it brings me back to like a journey I had in my head a couple of years ago where like my recovery had taken a turn for the worse and I was kind of getting back on track. And I remember knowing that I have to let go of control and not knowing how. And I had these two thoughts that came up in my head. One was that I'm at the edge of a cliff and I've got my mentor behind me telling me, jump, just jump. And I'm like, are you crazy? You don't jump off a cliff, okay? I don't care how, you don't jump off a cliff. And I'm looking down and I see all these other people that I want what they have, and they all jumped. And I see their Instagram posts and their stories and this and that. Like, oh, we're having a great time here, you know? And we all jumped and none of us got hurt at all. I can't jump. And then I realize at a certain point, I don't have to jump. I just have to take a step. And that's faith. Every step I take gives me energy to take the next step. And the other thought that I had was that I'm driving this car, and I'm driving, and it's a great car, and it's doing its job, and I love it. You know, it's a point A to point B car, okay? It's doing the job. And I'm driving, and I keep hearing this voice saying, let go of the wheel. And I brush it off as, you're absolutely insane. You don't do that. You don't let go of it. Same thing with a cliff. You don't jump off a cliff. You don't let go of a steering wheel. If anyone's interested, don't let go of a steering wheel if anyone's in question. And I keep hearing this voice, and I keep driving. And eventually I start noticing the car malfunctioning a little bit. So like I'll turn the steering wheel right and it won't go as fast, and left, and it starts to malfunction on a higher level. And I keep hearing this voice, let go of the wheel. I'm like, I don't know what that voice is, but it's an insanity thought. Like, you don't do that. And I start turning the wheel right and it goes left. I start hitting the brakes and it starts driving. And I'm really baffled at this point. And I keep hearing the voice getting louder and more confident and more calm. Let go of the wheel, let go of the wheel. And at some point, something happens and something clicks, and there's this mind shift, and reality kicks in, and God's in the driver's seat telling me to let go of the wheel. And in my hands is a little Tykes steering wheel that has a button. If you click it, the cow says moo, you know? And that's what I've been doing the whole time. And I've just been holding onto this steering wheel, trying to steer this car I'm not the one driving. I never was the one driving. And, so it's not like I don't know that God's with me.
This
or
is
don't
a vision that you keep having over and over?
It was a vision I kept having then. Now I
have to tell you the freakiest thing.
Yeah?
I have something very similar.
Oh, wow.
But it's almost the opposite.
Really?
And I have nightmares about this. They come back once in a while, not as much now as they used to.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in a car and I'm not in the driver's seat. I'm in an empty car. It's moving. The car's moving and it's moving really fast. I'm sitting in the passenger seat in the bucket in front of it. And the car is speeding. And I tell myself, grab onto the steering wheel. Grab on. And I can't move. And the car is going really fast. I'm like, I know I'm going to crash.
Wow.
I know I'm going to crash, but I can't stop the car. I can't move to stop the car. And then I wake up. And isn't that crazy?
That's crazy, yeah.
There's something about the driving, right?
Yeah.
About taking control of your life.
Like, I don't know how people learned to have faith in God before cars existed. There's no...
Connected. Maybe camels, donkeys,
right?
horses, I don't know.
You're steering the horse, you pull the reins this way. Like, for car analogies, how do you have faith in God?
Oh my God, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Wow.
It is weird. They call it like paralysis, right? Like sleep paralysis or something.
Something like that.
It's
I don't
funny.
know. But like when in therapy, I used to bring it up, and it's really significant. It's a really significant concept. Yeah. Anyway, I want to talk more about your project that you're in now.
Okay.
Cruitie, right?
Cruitie, yeah.
Cruitie, right. So out of this balagan, some really, really good things have happened.
Thank God, yeah.
Thank God.
So
tell me about what your project.
So the project is called Cruitie. It's been around for 5 years on a very, very low scale, and hopefully soon will be on a much larger scale.
Okay.
It's essentially a job platform. It's a website where we advertise job listings every day. But here's the history.
How did it start?
Here's the history behind it.
Okay.
When I was 25, so 7 years ago, I had no education and no real job experience. I was going through a horrible divorce, and I lost support from my family. So I got my first sales job. I got my first sales job on a commission-only basis. Just to give you a picture of the first 6 months of working there, I was making an average of about $1,000 a month. And just my rent was about 4,400 shekel before bills for utilities. So it was a mess. It was really hard. And it was a sales job, and I'm not the greatest salesperson. Maybe today I'm better, but I've been learning not to say that. Anyway.
It's a hard job.
Yeah.
It requires a lot of skill.
Like I'm doing sales today as well. Like I'm still, my main job is, sales and shipping and warehousing. So, okay, so I got my first job, and 6 months in, which was about the time frame that people would normally start to close deals and start to make good money, I was making FS, like barely anything. I knew the business backwards and forwards at that point because I was so dedicated to it, but I couldn't close the deals. To the point that new people were coming on the team. I was helping train them in, and they were closing deals bigger than mine. And I started to think maybe it's not for me. And my boss at the time, real entrepreneurial type, about 2 years older than me. So he was 29 at the time, doing very, very well for himself. And he told me, look, I like you. If you want, I can give you a job in the company that's a salary-based job. You can still try to close deals at the time. You'll get a smaller commission. If you want your salary, you got it. I don't think it's the right thing for you. I think you're going to learn how to close these deals. And I started to push and push and push more and more and more. I remember one night, literally, we had an office in Binyan Klal in Jerusalem. So it's a creepy building.
Yes.
And one night I just decided to stay overnight and close deals. I was there from 9 in the morning the day before till 8:30 in the morning the next day. I took a half-hour nap on the floor. I think I saw someone in the bathroom. I don't know, but I closed the deal that night. It was a tiny deal, nothing significant, but
That place is creepy during the day.
it's creepy always. There's all these theories. I spent a lot of time there. It's very,
Smells
very
like
creepy.
piss all the time.
The horrible. There are these homeless guys across the street that sit there and they drink, and I talk to them. I know some of them.
Oh yeah.
And they basically the night goal there is for them to sneak in and sleep there. So and they usually make it. According to what I've heard from them, they usually manage to get in and sleep there.
Not surprised. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Okay. So I tried really hard, and I worked on my work ethic. Like I didn't know how to work hard. I was always creative, but I never knew how to work hard. And like I had these like values at work, and I was working for a friend that really cared about me. It got complicated because of that, but he really, really cared about me. And I finally started closing deals. And I was loving it. It was about a year in. And they told me, they said, we want you to start your own team, which they didn't offer anyone else. And I was like, this is crazy. Like I was the least successful employee here, but I showed value in other ways. And I went through 100 resumes, interviewed people. I was so picky. I ended up hiring one guy who we're still friends today. And he took a few months till he started closing deals. And I was getting discouraged. My boss was like asking me, do you think this was a mistake and all that? And I was like, no, I'm holding on. And then COVID happened as soon as he started to close consistent deals. And I was like, what do you want from me?
Catch a break.
Yeah. So I said, okay, I'm going to write myself a CV and I'm going to start sending it around. So I wrote a CV. And now at that point, I didn't have much work experience, but I wrote the CV very well without a drop of dishonesty. And it got really well received. And I said, you know what? Like, I'm not getting a job. I'm opening a business of writing CVs for people. I'm good at this. So I started to do that, and I called it Quality Career Choice. And I started a WhatsApp group to post jobs.
And you make money? Is that still going on now?
The WhatsApp group's quite big.
Yeah.
It's like 12,000 people.
Oh,
there's the website, and there's our Instagram and all that. We're supposed to make money. I got a business partner on board. At this point, it was a couple, and we're trying to figure out the next way forward. Either a big move or close it down, but like we're not going to close it down. I started to realize over that time, over the next couple of years, because that job, the business wasn't going to sustain me, and I needed to get a job. And I started to learn. I've been through many jobs since then. I've been fired. In my life, I've been fired over 10 times. I've been through over 30 jobs. Not in the last few years, but including the last few years. And I really had to learn the hard way. professionalism. I had to learn proper work ethic. I had to learn how to add value, and I had to change my mindset. So today, the goal is for me to show people who are just like me, who need that push and need that education on how to break into the career industry, let's call it, right? With these simple tools. And I see things out there, I see tips out there, tip after tip from these huge social media pages, that the advice they're offering is toxic for your success in a company. They're great advice if you can afford or you have a good enough idea to quit your job. They're great advice because they basically say, hate your job and go start your own thing. They're horrible advice. Like there's a new trend today of showing how you're screwing your company over to like make back for how much they screwed you over. Like doing things on company time that, benefit you, or, stealing things from your company, like enough pens to make back your salary, like stuff like that. And I'm like, let's get the perspective on this for a second, right? You have a company that's paying you money every month. They're not doing you a favor. Let's be real, right? They're not doing you a favor because you would never pay somebody, you would never just give a random person 5,000 or 10,000 shekel a month, right? Like a random person, if it wasn't for charity purposes and you couldn't afford it, right? Would you just hand someone? No. So obviously it's not a chesed. It's not a charity that somebody's hiring you. They need your work, right? So if you're going to be working alongside people every day and you're trying to work towards your own success and you can't take into account their success and you can't not hate them while you're working for them, you're not headed anywhere. So people need to understand that.
So what do you tell people who don't like their job?
So give me an example. Let's do role play. Give me an example why you wouldn't like your job.
I think somebody who's working as a lawyer, let's say. Okay. And they work so many hours and they don't feel any satisfaction from the job. They don't like it. It's very monotonous. It's boring. It's not something that interests them.
Okay.
But they need the parnasa and they're making really good money. There's a lot of people out there who have very good salaries who hate their jobs.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. So the advice I would give a person like that, the first thing I would tell them is that I don't know what it's like to be on their level of a career, because I don't. I would say that there's many ways to find meaning at your job. I would say
after all, you spend so many hours there.
Yeah.
Right?
I would tell them, there's an old lady, right? She comes in every day and she doesn't talk to anybody, right? Yeah. Why don't you go talk to her for a few minutes every day while you're at work? You don't have to be feeding the starving children in Africa to have meaning at your job. There's many ways to find meaning at your job, but we're asking for too much. I think that with all the new laws in place in the last 20 years that protect the employees have an entitlement that allows them to not add so much value, and it frustrates themselves because they walk into work thinking that HR is their friend. HR is hired by the company to protect the company, and rightfully so. Another thing you'll hear people give advice on is loyalty from your company, to demand loyalty from your company. Do you know how much it costs to have an employee for the first 6 months? The company doesn't need to give you any loyalty other than that. Training you means you're not adding value until you're done training, for the most part. Let's say someone's getting paid $15,000 a month. Let's say someone's getting paid $2,000 a month, and they're not adding value. The company's taking a chance on you. They're also, the way they found you was by advertising their listing. They didn't know how to advertise. No company ever does, because there's no clear-cut way. They had to figure it out. They had to create traction. They had to get a listing here, listing here, listing here. All that traction stops when they hire you. They take all that down, and now if it doesn't work out with you, they have to start that all again, and they could end up months without the thing that they need. It's a massive risk that they're taking on you. After 6 months, I do believe the company has to start showing loyalty, but not before then. The sense of entitlement, the idea, the ideological and spiritual idea that you should be anywhere during your day only looking to get and not to give is flawed, I believe. And it's the reason why so many people are hating their jobs or unemployed. Now, that's very separate from talking about finding a job. Finding a job is a whole different ballgame. that generally, here's what I do. I'll talk to people and they'll tell me that they can't find a job and it's been 8 months or 6 months and they have kids to feed and all that. And first thing I want to do is take a second to empathize, because it's horrible to be in that state, especially when you keep losing your jobs and
Yeah.
it's horrible. And like I've been there, and it's like, wow, the stress, the fear that you have every day, and every phone call you get, jumping at that phone call, like, I'm not jealous of anybody, and I really do feel the compassion. Then I talk to them about their process, and I say, how many jobs have you gotten rejection? How many jobs have you applied to? They tell me 100. How many rejections have you gotten? 30. I said, okay. How many interviews have you had? They'll tell me 2. I'm like, okay, so the problem's before the interview. So we've already pinpointed what the problem is. The problem could be either in the resume, cover letter, or their communication between emails, or let's say it's Israel, so WhatsApps or whatever it is, however you're communicating with the recruiter. Their issue might be with getting in touch with the recruiter as well. And there's all these things that I learned from experience. Like, I wanted a job interview as an executive assistant with no experience doing that. And, there was a certain listing I saw. So I reached out, I emailed, I followed up again. I found her on Facebook, hit her up on Facebook. A month later, I got an interview. At that time, I already had another job, so I said no. But what I try to explain to people is that when you're looking for a job, you're not a developer anymore. You're in sales. You're now in sales and marketing. And when you're in marketing, you have to learn how to be what's the word I'm looking for? To be not visible, but relevant. You have to stay relevant when you're in marketing.
I'm so proud of you, Shmuli.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of hearing you talk like this now. Wow. Wow. Continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Good for you. Okay.
So when you're, okay, back in that, I'm blushing, okay?
Good for you. I'm going to start crying. I'm so emotional. I don't know why. Okay.
I'm sorry, it's coming from me. I've been emotional the last couple of days. It's okay. I didn't know it's contagious.
Maybe.
So when you're in sales, you have to follow up, you have to present yourself properly, and you have to sell. And like, if you want to sell yourself, the best salesperson is someone who knows everything about the product. The product is you. If you don't know your weaknesses, you don't know you. If you don't know your strengths, you don't know you. So when you go into an interview, like, don't be shy. Like, talk about your strengths. And these simple tools that people don't know, and it's the people who have careers that are way more advanced than me who have the hardest time with this. Classic thing. I think I told you this when we spoke on the phone. Classic example will be somebody will come to me to fix their CV. And as soon as I start pointing out flaws and they see this little kid sitting in front of them, they're like, well, my uncle's a CEO of a Fortune 500 and he helped me write this resume. I'm like, yeah, and that's what I'm seeing here. I don't see you. And I don't want to say it like that because, like I mentioned to you, being hard on people is just not the way. I did that for a little bit. It was coming from a place of insecurity, and
you've experienced that as well.
Yeah, it's not
helpful.
No, because their ears are going to close and they're not going to hear what I have to say. So there's a lot of love that goes into that, and a lot of encouragement. And people are very surprised because they'll call me about their CV, and I end up talking about the emotional side of things with them. Like, you were fired 2 years ago, and that got to you. You feel like you don't have that much to offer. Like, try not to let that affect you. Like, go into your next interview remembering who you are, remembering your skill set, That's the message I'm trying to give, because I struggled so much in this world of putting food on the table, right? On what table, right? In this world of having a roof over my head and having food to eat and having child support for my son. In this crazy world that we live in, that we have to make money and we have to somehow figure out how to make money. And we have people who just don't know how to do that. And they're scrambling, and they're, like I said, I believe that in every group of 10, nachlaot stoners, there's 2 who have no idea why they're there and really wish they could enter the career world, and they just don't know how. And nothing against the rest of them. Like everyone has their life choices, and that's fine by me. Like I very much value my life choices, but I want to help the people who don't want to be there. And I want to reach them to really kind of guide them into what a proper work ethic is. That no, you're allowed to go to work even if you feel like you hate your boss today. Because why? Because you said you're going to go to work. So that's what we do. Like we have discipline. People rely on disciplined people. If you take 3 seconds before you respond to a conversation at work, you might have less situations where you create drama at work, which nobody, you're not going to move forward by creating drama. If you're in your job interview and you wait 3 seconds before you respond to something, your responses are going to be better and they're going to respect you for it.
So is this what you're doing now?
This is what I'm working on very much. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to do the career coaching and these videos that I post every day. We're also trying to boost the platform to be the most effective. Like we're going to be revamping everything soon. Right now we just post on the website and links to the website, and it's gotten less effective since we started doing that. So we're going to go back to posting every job individually on WhatsApp as well as the website. But we're just I changed the Instagram handle to Cruitie.community. Because that's really what we're trying to create here. Like we want to eventually have workshops and just a community of people, holding each other's hands and learning how to live here in Israel in a proper way.
Are you working with women also, or is it mostly
Sure.
men?
No. Probably more women actually.
Oh, really?
I think I might get through to them a little bit better. I don't know why. It's just the type of person I am, but I work with anyone who needs help.
And how do people contact you?
Hey, my number's everywhere. I mean, my phone number, my Instagram handle, the Cruitie handle, like whichever way.
Okay.
Like really any way that people can get in touch with me. I'm very bad at responding on time, but that's separate. I'm working on that.
And what are you doing now with people who are recovering addicts?
So that's more of a private, I do, I'm just kind of who I am. People who need help can reach out to me and I can either guide them to the right person. I'm involved with the AZ House. It's this free facility.
I saw that.
Yeah, I worked there for a couple of years and I stopped working there,
Where
but I'm
is
still
it?
involved. It's in Pisgat Zev.
Okay.
They just signed on another house, so they're doubling their bed rate from 20 to 40, which is huge. And they have never charged a resident a penny to be there.
Wow.
Their success rate is 54% of long-term sobriety, which is, it steamrolls any other statistic.
Why do you think they're more successful?
First of all, because they don't charge. So they're able to tell residents what they need to hear, regardless of whether the resident wants to hear it. Because the resident will say, I'm going to leave. They say, okay, you're not paying my salary. And that really works because drug addicts need to hear the cold, hard truth more than anybody. If you want to be harsh with anybody, a drug addict's the first person to be harsh with. And I'll stand by that forever. There's a loving way to say things, but it doesn't even matter. Because drug addicts have lied to themselves for so long that unless you cut through it, you're not going to get through. So they need to hear certain things. They need to do a certain program. If they don't do that program, they deter from it and they do it in their own way, it doesn't work. And that's where the success rate dwindles. So you have all these other facilities that charge an arm and a leg, and they have all these added features in order to justify the amount they charge, right? They have equine therapy and pool and Wi-Fi, and everyone gets a tablet to go to sleep with, and they have a TV in every bedroom. Then they justify the markup on those charges because it now takes the margin from justifying a $2,000 a month fee now it could easily be $20,000. And they dilute the treatment. They dilute it very much. So they're not focused on 12-step recovery, which has the highest success rate out of any other form of sober recovery. And they dilute it. So people come out with this shitty success rate. It's just how it works. And that's besides all the games that certain rehabs play that I definitely have heard firsthand information. Certain games, if insurance pays for 1 month, which they do, right? And the rehab program is 8 months. What do? You take a resident, I have a rehab, you have a rehab. You take a resident in your rehab after a month, you send them over to my rehab, I send over one of mine. We renew their insurance. Here's another thing that I've heard firsthand. A resident stays by us for a month. After a month, we give them $2,000, say come back in 2 weeks, go use. They come back in 2 weeks and they start their month over and they get insurance again. That's something I've heard firsthand.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just one of the many games that people play. So that's the world. That's the unregulated world of drug rehabs that we live in.
In Israel.
Everywhere.
And it's like that everywhere?
Yes, everywhere. It's more common everywhere else because the insurance is much more forgiving in America.
And what's your connection with the AZ House now? You would just recommend them, or
So
do you
I recommend them.
volunteer?
I haven't. I would like to start going back. It's been a while. They're like my people. Like, if I ever have clothing, it's donated to them. It's if I ever,
Oh yeah, they take donations for things?
Sure. Yeah.
Like what? What do they need?
Well, clothing, they seem to have an over influx. So I don't know if clothing is the move. You can always give it to me. I'll get rid of it. Usually money's just the best thing because they have a system that works. But like furniture is good. Like if you're, giving away a couch or something or a bed, like they can usually use that. If anyone's giving away a jalopy, that always works. Like, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
That's what I do my yearly push-up challenge.
I saw that too. What did you, 6,000 push-ups in an hour?
I did 644 this year, which is my record. The world record is 3,249, so I'm working towards that. But I raised $9,000 this year from it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I wanted to circle back for a second,
Sure.
and then we're going to end off. But I wanted to ask you, you were talking about how you've been in a lot of yeshivas.
Yeah.
You've had a lot of very religious education. How come none of that wore off on you? You know what I mean? Like that with them, it's Emunah, it's learning Torah, it's all of those things. Interesting how you got worse through that system.
Interesting question.
So the follow-up question is sort of, how do you feel about Yiddishkeit now?
Okay. So
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I have a very strong connection to Yiddishkeit. I've kept Shabbat for over 10 years and I keep kosher and everything else I do. My relationship to it is a relationship of love. And if there's a shadow on the love, I stay away until I work it out. So I don't like putting on tefillin, but recently I've felt the urge to start putting it on. So I put it on once a week if I'm in the area and there's a Chabad guy putting it on. And recently I felt like I want to put it on more. I started going to shul every day recently because I feel like I want it. There was so much pressure in my childhood of you have to or else that it took away my emunah and bitachon, because emunah is that God loves me no matter what. And here I was told he only loves me if I do these things.
It's conditional, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so untrue and it did a lot of damage to me. But so that's why I keep it in my own way. That's my relationship toward Yiddishkeit. Is like I choose the person that I'm worshiping or the thing that I'm worshiping. So I'm worshiping God. I have a God in my life that I have a relationship with. I'm going to choose the perspective of God that I have. I do believe there's one God, but I'm going to choose the way I look at him and my relationship with him. Kind of the way that if you have a certain friend that doesn't treat you right, you're going to tell her or him, I don't like this relationship. So either we're going to change our dynamic or we're just not going to be friends anymore. And with God, I feel like we're able to change our dynamic as time goes on. And when I was doing my sobriety, my recovery work, part of that was coming to believe in something out there, in a power greater than me, right? And I did it. I did the work, and I wrote down on a piece of paper everyone I thought God was, all the character traits that I thought God had, and all the character traits that the God of my wildest dreams would have. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go live like this now. And then, I had a situation happen that was really tough, and I called up my friend, and I was like, God's fucking with me. And he's like, wait a second, what's going on? I told him what's going on. He goes, okay, let's go back to that step that you did. And I said, okay. He goes, do you believe in a God that fucks with you? I said, no. He said, then either he's not fucking with you or this isn't God. And we're going to go with that, even though it doesn't make sense. And we're going to go with that. And I find that by living that way, end up with a better life to the point where if I die and there's no God, I don't care. You know, I don't care because I lived the life that I'm proud of and the life that I wanted to live. And that's my relationship with Yiddishkeit as well. Like, I have to merge it, you know, where like I have to stop myself. Like, you know, because in my instinct, I see my son doing something on Shabbat and I want to tell him that, I'm like, wait a second, where's love in this? Where's God in this? Like, is this just you did a bad thing, or does God exist in this? And I'll say one more thing, is that I'm a very strong believer that you have to have faith in your religion, which means like this, right? If you're so sure that Judaism is the true religion, and you're so sure that God exists in your life and that He's the Almighty, why can't you trust that He's strong and capable enough for you to question your beliefs and actually do some deep dive thinking on how you believe in things?
Very good point.
Yeah.
Good. Shmuli Weissler. Wow, the amazing Shmuli Weissler. This was a really heavy conversation. But I'm so happy that we met, and I'm so happy that I'm proud of you.
Thank
of all
you
the
so
things
much.
that you've accomplished. I wish you so much more success in the future. I know that you're just headed to an amazing place, and things are just going to keep getting better and better for you. And for your son, and for all of Am Yisrael and whatever. Is there anything that you want to promote here?
No, I mean, my job website,
Okay.
it's Cruitie.com. It's
I'm going to post a link to
Cruitie.
everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just it. And if anybody needs any help with their job seeking, or if any hiring companies are out there looking to advertise their job listings, reach out to me. All my information is there. And yeah, thank you so much. It's so nice meeting you.
My pleasure.
You're awesome.
Can I shake your hand?
Please do, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for listening. Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of The Dayna Show. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to the podcast, like and share with your friends on social media, and rate us 5 stars. Don't forget to tune in next week, and we'll see you then.